the first thing you really need to be able to do cold outreach is like an avatar, like a niche, because I'll get to that here in a minute, but essentially the biggest thing is like you want to show up as like an expert in whatever you're talking about. Like you want to be able to recognize somebody's pains before they even tell you what their pains are. So essentially, I'll go ahead and share my screen real quick and um, kind of show you a few things that kind of explain it. Second here. So yeah, like, did you watch the instructional videos like from Alex, like breaking
Yeah.
things down?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like one of the things he said is like, who is it for? You know, scratch your own itch sort of situation.
Yep.
You might not be in a place where you're scratching your own itch, but it's still around short form content, creating things like businesses have a need for that, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, like I went the first whole year of my business not defining an avatar, and I paid dearly for it because I was trying to sell to everybody with a pulse. Like I was showing up kind of like a clown in DMs, honestly, at times. Like I didn't know what I was talking about, and
Mhm.
it made it really hard to actually like build trust, get them on a call, and like close them. But when you're talking to one type of person, you know their pains, you know where they want to be. It makes it a lot easier to actually guide a conversation and build trust with the process. I'll kind of break that down for you here in a minute. But have you heard of an avatar, like a target client? Like I'm sure you're familiar with the term.
I actually don't think I am the term
Okay.
avatar.
Yeah, so essentially, like an avatar is like a persona, like an ideal customer profile, like
Oh, okay.
the one type of business you're trying to serve.
Right.
You can technically serve multiple industries and still have one persona. You can also serve one industry and have multiple personas, right? Like depending on job title.
Mhm.
But it really comes down to just knowing who you're going to be selling to. Like, and a good way you can figure out who you're going to sell to is like who you've successfully sold to in the past. So, like you mentioned healthcare earlier, like you
Mhm.
could potentially talk to more healthcare companies and niche down. You already have results. You've already been working with them. You have case studies. You
Yeah.
can hone in a little bit more. And I know there may be some FOMO. You're thinking about it, like fear of missing out. It's like I can serve everybody. You know, I can really help them. But like I promise, as soon as I started to niche down, my income like doubled, tripled. Like I started focusing on just coaches, consultants, and
Mhm.
because I was just talking to them, they trusted me a lot more. I had a service that was made for them, and essentially allowed me to charge higher prices as well. Right. So really niching down and developing that avatar is like really the first step I recommend if you ever want to get into like cold outreach or just sending DMs, right? Because you can talk to people's general pains,
Yeah.
but you may not be able to get specific enough. You following me?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah. So essentially, like here, it's like this is helpful to know with like demographics, like who have you targeted, who have you talked to from these healthcare companies, like who's seen the biggest need for it, maybe like the
Mhm.
chief marketing officer. You may not be able to get in touch with them necessarily on Instagram. I'd say LinkedIn's actually a pretty solid place to get in touch with healthcare. I've done
Yeah.
it a bit myself. But essentially just kind of outlining that, right? Like what industry are they in? You can put healthcare for yourself. You know, what's the size of their company? Where do they hang out? Like this is kind of stuff that's just nice to know.
Right.
But really gets important is like their current state. Now, it looks like quite a lot. You can definitely have a smaller list than this. You can add to it over time. But essentially, like you want to understand, you know, what do their KPIs and metrics look like key performance indicators and like their
Yep.
metrics, like how many results are they currently getting on social media? How much are they currently investing in social media? Like what's the conversion rate from their shorts, you know, the ads they're running, like trying
Mhm.
to figure out that information. And you can definitely do that by surveying your current clients where they started off as, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then eventually you want to know like how are they currently posting on social media? How are they handling short form content? Like um, really just kind of breaking that process down. Like, do they have somebody there in there that's already working? They've already hired them. What are they doing on a daily basis? How much content are they putting out? Like all that good stuff. And then tools and tech. I'm sure you have a certain stack of tools that you use to help create short form content, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So like understanding what they're currently using. They may not even be making short form content. Like they don't see the value in it. They may be
Yeah.
making really long form content or just like written posts. And then emotions, frustrations, fears is like, I'm putting so much into social media and we're not getting a return. Like I don't know what to do. Like, you know, I don't know where to invest. I don't know what channels to grow. Like these are a lot of the things that you can actually help them with. And this is a really big piece when you're building out that like emotional connection side, you know, really breaking into like, okay, how are we going to help them get out of this kind of crappy situation for them? They're in a lot of fear. They don't know where to go. They're
Yeah.
spending so much money on things that aren't working. And that's where you kind of start coming into the goal state, right? So this is like A and this is like B. You
Okay.
are going to take them from A to B. So the goal outcome Have you read offers or leads at all?
I haven't, no, I need to, but yeah,
Oh,
I
it's
get recommended that every day now that I'm in
so
school.
good, bro. Trust. It's so good. So goal outcome is essentially like the dream outcome, and basically it's like, what is the ideal situation that a successful client of yours will experience? Well, they
Mhm.
don't have to be a client, right? Like, what do they want to experience? And
Yeah.
then you can help them get to that place. So it's like they want to be able to have super high leverage, like create one video that gets chopped up into 30 and it's consistently posting out, consistently getting engagement. You're split testing what's working the best. You're taking what's been working and doing more of that. They want to have like massive returns on the content they're creating, what they're investing, any advertising as well. So like you're kind of getting what I'm feeling like this
Yep.
is what they want to be, and they don't know necessarily how to get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can figure out KPIs and metrics like return on investments, all that sort of good stuff. And then emotions as well. It's like we feel really confident in our sales and marketing strategy. Like we're only focusing in on what's working. Like it's just really good stuff, right? Um, this this is actually a process you can go through in offers is like defining the biggest problems. From where we're at now, I mean, it's important to understand like the best way for me to kind of describe it is, are you familiar with like Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, we need water first, then we need food, then we need shelter. And in this world, we need money, and then we need an income. And it's like, you want to understand what their problems are, like foundationally, like what their biggest, most urgent problem is, like right now, that's
Mhm.
stopping them the first step from getting from place A to place B, right? So it's like their first biggest problem is like they don't even know short form content exists, right? Like,
Yeah.
or probably one of their biggest problems is they're losing a lot of money on advertising and marketing that's not working. So like
Mhm.
really getting in there, this is a process you can go through in offers. Like he has like a checklist for it, and like definitely do the exercises. I didn't do the exercises the first time I read it. It was huge impact, right? But you're essentially what you're going to do is listing out all their problems, and then eventually you're going to focus in on like what are the highest value problems to solve. So I won't get too far into it, but essentially you need to understand that to know what you're going to um, how you're going to kind of feel into their pains when you're actually doing cold outreach for them, right? It's like you need to know what
Yeah.
their biggest problems are first before they even tell you to show up
Right.
as an advisor, as an expert. And that's going to build so much trust, so much credibility. And then eventually, this is kind of similar to stuff up top. It's like, what are their frustrations and emotions related to these specific problems? Like, what have they tried to actually fix these problems? If they failed, why have they failed? And then, what are the common excuses they use to justify? So these are just nice to have. Like, I'd say the excuses are more like for objection handling, like when you're actually on
Right.
a call.
Yeah.
But the more detailed you can develop your avatar, like the better, right?
Mhm.
So essentially, you really just need demographics, current state, goal state, like at minimum to start. But I
Yeah.
definitely recommend like going through offers and like just spending 3, 4 days on it and just really building it out, really getting clear who you're going to serve. And like the biggest thing is like when it comes to choosing a niche, you can definitely choose um, you can definitely choose healthcare, right? You already have some experience there, but like important things to consider, at least for me in my experience, is like where do you have prior experience? Like you don't want to be serving an industry that like you've never served before. You
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
but it's just a little bit of a slower of a ramp. And then
Mhm.
what niche are you passionate about serving? Like actually enjoy serving them. Like you can see yourself working with them long term. Like it's not something an industry you hate. And
Yeah.
then financially viable. They have to have money to pay for your services. Like you could serve college kids, right? But they're not going to may not be able to actually afford your short form content and such.
Mhm.
And then there's another one here as well that's kind of important. It's like making sure they're actually accessible. Like you could be talking to secret service agents or trying to serve them, but like,
Mhm.
how are you going to reach them, right? And there's so few of them, and they're not really accessible.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn's a good channel for healthcare, but like definitely finding a niche on Instagram, like you were talking about earlier, could be very helpful as well. But now that we have this kind of developed, any questions about this process, or is it making sense with you for the most part?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, have not thought about all of the like preparation that goes into cold outreach like this before, so that's awesome.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, this isn't just for cold outreach. This is for your community. This is for your business. This is for
Right.
content that you create. Because if you think about it, these problems that you create down here, like, they're content ideas. They're literally like infinite content ideas,
Yeah.
like emotions or fears. Like, you can really hone in and hit things deep. And then it's kind of like direct response marketing in general, what I'm about to show you. But like, it really, it gives you like so much of an insight into who you're trying to serve. And like, it just makes it way easier to sell to them
Mhm.
because they also feel comfortable in that process.
Yeah.
Um, but the next piece is essentially kind of building out a flow. Definitely, it seems complicated. It's really not too much. We'll focus on this first, and then I'll kind of explain what it actually looks like. But essentially, this is how we're going to like break down actually having a cold conversation from initially reaching out to somebody, getting a response, and then moving them towards a call, a client, your community, whatever your goal is, right?
Mhm.
First of all, we have to make sure they actually fit your persona, your avatar, like the person you're trying to serve. So for me, serving coaches, consultants, service providers, like I need to know they're a coach, consultant, fractional CXO. They're maybe doing inconsistently 5 to 10K months. They're CEO of your business. And then
Yeah.
I'll show you specific questions we can ask here in a minute, but I'll go through this really quick. So are they trying to achieve a certain goal? What we talked about, they want successful marketing. They don't want to be wasting money on ads, or they want high return on investment for ads. They want to have a large social presence. They want their branding handled for them. A lot of the stuff you talked about, these are their goals. So you need
Mhm.
to identify what their goals are. And then are they struggling? They said, oh, yeah, we're spending way too much on ads, or, oh, we have a marketing person, but we're not seeing great results, or, you kind of follow me there in that piece.
Yep.
And then you have the option to teach, provide some insight. You can provide a lead magnet if you have one available, testimonials, case studies, and then have them confirm they actually want to fix the problem. Like, hey, is this something you want to fix right now? And then this is actually a place where you can present your offer, right? And then eventually book them on a call. So does that flow make sense in general? I'll explain it here more in depth in a second.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Now, when it comes to like the criteria, I kind of just broke those down, like in your case for short form, like understanding what their goal is, are they struggling to achieve that goal? For me, it looks pretty different, right? But then you actually get into question flow. So essentially, you're able to ask, you want to qualify first. So you can like, so you're doing consulting work. Are you serving B2B or B2C as well? Are you trying to reach 5 figures a month, or are you already there and looking to scale? Like these are questions that are uncovering what we need to know to see if they're actually an ideal client. So like this is how you can start a conversation. Maybe after you do an outreach, like, hey, great to connect. How's business been going? They respond, and you can drop a simple question like this and start getting into the flow of like taking them down this process. And then you're able to move. They answer, oh, I just hit 5 figures a month and I'm looking to scale, right? Or they could say, I'm not haven't reached it yet, but I'm trying to. I say, okay, I'm curious, how are your services currently structured? Are you working hourly? Are you working project based? This helps me understand more about their business. Maybe they want like a high ticket offer and they want to move away from hourly work. This is for me, but again, in your case, they could say like, um, you could ask, hey, are you currently running any social media campaigns? Are you currently doing any marketing?
Mhm.
Um, and also be specific. Like, are you investing in shorts currently? Like just asking questions that are related exactly to what you do.
Mhm.
And this is usually a big one. This is kind of like a confession question to where it's like you're able to ask, they say, oh, we have looked into shorts and we're currently kind of testing it out, right? And then you can say, this is mine, but what's been the biggest issue so far with growth? Sometimes we hear from service providers they're too reliant on referrals. Other times it's more about how time consuming or manual their sales processes are. Curious to hear what your story is. So I can only say that. This is where you start to show up as an advisor, because I can only say that because I know if they're inconsistently doing between 5 to 10K a month, this is like 90% one of their issues. Like they're probably too reliant on referrals where they're getting inconsistent revenue,
Yeah.
or their sales process is way too time consuming and they can't put out the amount of volume they need to actually get new business. It
Mhm.
could be maybe they don't have product market fit, but like usually it's one of these pieces. And you can also kind of start to see the difference between like just asking this question. Like if I were just to drop this in someone's DM like me a year ago, like
Mhm.
why would somebody want to answer this? It's like, okay, you don't know. It's like it's too much thought for me. Like I don't want to have to think about it. But when you
Yeah.
ask the full question, it's like, oh, he's giving me two options. He's presenting himself as somebody who knows my pains before I've even told him what they are.
Mhm.
This guy's showing up as an advisor, as an expert in my DMs. Like that builds so much trust and credibility. And usually I'll get like a confession out of this, just like, oh, we've tried this and tried that, but like it's so difficult. We're going into this and like it works. Like I can show you an example here in a little bit. But in your case, you can ask like, oh, what's been your biggest issue so far with growth? Like sometimes we hear from other healthcare providers that they're spending way too much money on ads and not getting a return. Other times that they're trying new social media strategies and they just aren't getting any traction,
Yeah.
right? Like that question is so much more powerful than just asking what's like a simple question here. So then you have the option to educate a little bit. Do you currently have like a lead magnet or something that you've used or like a
I
case
don't know.
studies or testimonials? Yeah, it could be good. Like Alex's training, $100 million leads, like he has a lead magnet section that goes really in depth into it. But you could maybe offer like a free short for them, like a free short example if they're like in
Mhm.
pain and they want that. You'll have to
Yeah.
kind of figure it out. Like you just want to make sure it's high value and really kind of starts to solve their initial pain. And then that's where you can hit them with your offering, which is a piece you can develop when you go through offers, which again, highly recommend. And this is kind of like telling them what you do and like having them confirm they want to book time to get on a call. This is a lot here. You don't have to go too far into it, but it's like this is more of a softer approach, and this is more like like an approach with like a guarantee. And then you're able to just like, yeah, let's talk more about it. I'll book you on a call. So making sense for the most
Yeah.
part. Any questions about that? Okay. And I'll show you one example to actually kind of like, because like essentially I say the same thing every single time. Like I say the exact same questions every single time, but I also make sure that I don't like shotgun blast questions.
Yeah.
I'll keep it conversational and say, oh, thanks so much for sharing that. How are your services structured, hourly, project based? And I'm telling
Mhm.
you, I say the same thing every single time. So let me actually pull up an example here to show you because I think it's a little more helpful to actually see it. Essentially, this is someone I reached out to on LinkedIn, right? This is the main channel that I use. But essentially, I sent him a message here. And one of the first questions I asked, I saw that he's using LinkedIn Premium. And I was curious if he's using it for networking and lead gen, right? And then here, actually, this will be easier if I actually split my screen. Let me do that one sec. Okay. Yeah. So essentially, I was kind of breaking it down. Thanks for sharing. Curious, are you trying to reach 5 figures a month? You're already there and looking to scale. And then are you trying to reach 5 figures a month? Are you already there and looking to scale, right?
Yep.
Then he answers, won't take me long, get there 5 figures per month, but not there yet. I've made all the mistakes to find that true product market fit. And now it's all about scaling. So yes, had the same experience. Believe it or not, it's about 9 months in. Enough was enough. And then I literally hit him verbatim, copy and pasted. What's been the biggest issue so far with growth? Literally, sometimes we hear from service providers, they're too reliant on referrals. Other times it's more about how time consuming or manual those sales processes are. Curious to hear what your story is. So copy and paste, copy and paste. And then boom, like he's 2 paragraphs, right? Yeah, man, it's meeting with the right people. I've tried networking warm introductions. They don't want to pay full price. And I've done a ton of cold outreach. I'm a sales guy. And the problem there has been getting attention of the right size accounts. So he's having issues with like a manual time consuming sales process and just like not being super effective. And then he kind of breaks it down here. Um, yeah, I won't kind of go too far, but essentially, okay, gotcha. This is where I'm actually educating now. So you're helping them scale beyond 5 figures, for example, then my focus is pretty simple: target audience, offer, outreach, closing, helping those who are inconsistently hitting 5 to 10K revenue. And then kind of sharing my story, being vulnerable, creating some empathy there. And then happy to take a look under the hood if you're open to that. So kind of offering it up a little bit. And he said, yeah, my target market is quite a bit bigger. He's kind of explaining where he's at. What would you do to take a look under the hood? I guess tell me a bit more about what you do. So he's asking me, right? And then kind of recap what we talked about. He's having some issues with his own sales system, but the sales system he creates for larger companies is working. And then I hit him with a more aggressive offer here. So on reflection, I probably could have hit him with maybe a little bit of a softer offer to start. So it was about 20 minutes and just kind of wanted to circle back. And I gave
Yeah.
him the latter half of my softer offer. And then he said, open to a call. I think I know all of what I need to do for success, but open to see if you show me anything I don't know too, always learning. And then just sent him a booking link and we grabbed some time. So that kind of makes sense. Does that help you kind of understand what the flow looks like a little bit better for that piece?
Yeah. That's awesome to watch that in real life and map it to your flow there.
Yeah, like I'll tell you, I didn't have this for the first year, and my cold outreach is a nightmare. Like I'd come out pitching strong, pitching first. I'd probably burn a lot of bridges and not really get much response. I'd come out having kind of a loose conversation, just asking general questions, and like it would just fizzle out and not really go anywhere. And like that's kind of like the situations where I just asked like a question like that, what's been the biggest issue so far with growth, and like it would go nowhere.
Yeah.
But this by far, like you get them into a conversation, repeatable framework, they build trust,
Yeah,
it's
it's
huge.
smooth too.
Yeah.
There's nothing that like you would say, because I have a lot of people in my DMs too, and it's like there's a lot of turnoffs that happen pretty early in the conversation, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. So hopefully that was helpful. I can definitely share this recording with you if you want to review it at any point. But
That'd be awesome, man.
yeah, definitely using that in your strategy. The first piece, first thing I'd recommend honestly is probably go read offers. Like it's just so good, super helpful. I don't know if you like audiobooks. I listen to it over audio, but um, it really just helps you build such a fantastic foundation, really solid product. Um, but then I definitely would recommend niching down as well. It's just
Hmm.
going to make it so much easier, like to attract people to your community.
Yeah.
Healthcare, like so that's the thing. It's like when if you're targeting larger businesses, you may not get, I don't know. This may be me being naive, but like it may be more challenging to get like a really high level executive like into a community, into a group. Who
Yeah,
knows? I
most
may
of the
be
people that I
wrong.
work with are like they just started the brand, or
Okay,
like there's like, you know, it's like a smaller e-commerce brand and there's like two people that run it or something, you know.
that's perfect then. Yeah, they're wanting to learn. They're willing to join a community. They're willing to network. But yeah, if you're like working with like really established like billion-dollar healthcare companies, um, I don't know. That my perspective is that maybe a challenge to get them in there, but in your case, sounds pretty solid in that approach. So like you could definitely educate in the educating section in the cold outreach. Like you could just invite them to your community, like say, hey, we talk about this all the time. Curious, so is this something you're looking to fix like right now, right? Like get them to commit to a call, and then you can hop on a call and actually sell them. So that's kind of a general flow. It may seem complex, but when you really break it down and build things foundationally, it becomes very easy to move forward with a lot of confidence. So
Yeah, makes sense to me.